Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. As we embark upon November, the world of PC hardware is once again threatened by the forces of mediocrity and stagnation. But fear not, good citizens, for amidst the chaos, a small but stalwart group of heroes stands forth. I speak, of course, of the hardware reviewers, defenders of quantifiable technological progress, callers out of bullshit, and guardians of tedium. Because PC benchmarking is a long and often tortuously boring process. It's especially rewarding when you have all the trappings of a new exciting CPU lineup, a new platform from one of the big two manufacturers, the culmination of progress towards a chiplet design with an innovative packaging method, new architecture, and so much more. And not only does it fall short of the competition, it often doesn't improve performance versus CPUs from last gen, while also frustrating many reviewers, like Leo from KitGuru, with basic setup and stability problems. Cheers, by the way. Such was Intel's Core Ultra 200S desktop CPU launch last week, with Fallout continuing this week, and AMD was just teasing all the while. Sorry you couldn't beat our 7800X3D at gaming, Intel. How about we launch the 9800X3D next week? Things are getting cutthroat on this episode of Tech News.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Thermaltake's The Tower 600 series cases, continuing their popular lineup of vertical body design solutions with more room than ever for high-end PC builds. With support for full-size ATX motherboards with hidden connectors, side radiator mounts with room for 360 and 420mm AIOs, a dual-mode GPU mounting system, and vented side panels that easily pop off for access to cable management or the 13 fan mounts, the Tower 600 is both easy to build in and distinct in its design. There's an optional display stand and LCD panel too. For more on the Tower 600 series cases from Thermaltake, click the sponsor link in the video description. So let's start with Intel's CPU launch, since I kind of missed it last week, and I've been trying to come up with a short explanation that also provides context. Intel put almost all their CPU upgrade points into efficiency this time around, and so these new Core Ultras draw less power than 14th gen while often improving performance. Unfortunately, efficiency was where they had the most ground to make up versus AMD Ryzen 7000 and 9000 CPUs, and so they failed to make any significant performance gains and still ended up drawing more power than the competition. Gaming performance was most underwhelming, which was somewhat expected. Even Intel thought it best to get ahead of that shortcoming by giving a -5% gaming perf estimate in their pre-launch briefings versus 14th gen. Essentially, there's no reasonable way to talk yourself into buying a 245K, 265K, or 285K for a gaming PC right now, given the existence of the 5700X3D and 7800X3D, as well as the forthcoming 9800X3D. Even Intel offers better gaming value with parts like the 12700K, 14400, and 14600KF selling for closer to $200 these days, $100 less than the 245K. For non-gamers, the new LGA 1851 platform might have some appeal, but it would be situational depending on the software you use, and AMD CPUs still provide better performance per watt. It would appear that consumers have gotten the message about this launch as well, with German retailer Mindfactory claiming that they sold not one single Arrow Lake CPU in the first week. Pretty stagnant out of the gate, though to be fair, the 285K is listed as sold out at US retailer Newegg, and Intel's CPUs typically ship in much higher volume via the pre-built market and as business workstations. Those Core Ultra CPUs will launch in 2025, and they won't be aimed at jaded and tech-savvy gaming PC enthusiasts. And lastly, there's also a reason I verbally filleted my fellow reviewers in this video's intro. The Intel pre-launch testing experience was far from smooth this time around, with Windows installation problems, blue screens, inconsistent performance, and a fair amount of workarounds needed to get accurate results, as relayed by both Steves, Gamers Nexus and Hardware Unboxed. But I think Leo from KitGuru wins this category. He really made me feel like gouging my eyes out too as he walked through his lengthy troubleshooting process, which at one point involved a conference call with 7 Intel engineers and technical marketing reps. I ended October on kind of a low note personally and had to miss this launch, but in retrospect, I was at least spared this level of frustration. Speaking of epic levels of frustration, whilst troubleshooting LGA 1851 setup snafus and taking calls from raging reviewers, Intel was also being poked incessantly by AMD for the past 2 weeks. Team Red began by dropping this teaser last week on the 21st, sharing the November 7th launch date for Ryzen 9000 X3D. but it was non-specific. Would they launch just the 8-core, or the 12-core and 16-core too? That sowed the seeds of doubt necessary to make consumers think twice about all three of Intel's new CPUs when they launched on the 24th, which to be fair, consumers would have done anyway given the aforementioned poor to awful reviews. AMD did nothing on the 25th, which was rumored to be an announcement day for them, but likely was just misdirection. And then, on Thursday, upon All Hallows Eve, trick or treat Intel, AMD has gone live with the full specs and price for the 9800X3D. $479, or a $30 increase over the 7800X3D, although we'll see how pricing goes after launch given that the 7800X3D is tough to find for less than about $480 itself right now. AMD says the 9800X3D is 8% faster at gaming across 40 titles versus the 7800X3D, and up to an average 20% faster than the competition, which, spoiler, is Intel. I don't know what up to an average means, but I assume it's legalese for this language is non-committal enough so you can't sue us over these performance claims in the future. The 9800X3D is an 8-core, 16-thread CPU as expected, with 104 megabytes of total cache, a 120-watt TDP, and a 5.2 GHz boost clock, 200 MHz faster than the 7800X3D. They also confirmed speculation from a couple weeks ago based on these high-res photos of delidded Ryzen 9000 CPU dies taken by Fritschen's Fritz. The TSV layout indicated a change to the 3D V-cache implementation, and it's true. The 3D V-cache isn't being stacked though, it's being flipped or reshuffled, you might say. So the 3D V-cache now resides underneath the Zen 5 CCD rather than on top of it. This removes an insulation layer from on top of the CPU cores, resulting in improved cooling, which helped them get to that 5.2 GHz boost clock. AMD says it's better for overclocking too, but they needed to wait for the complete architecture redesign to change the TSV layout and make it happen. We'll find out how well it worked when reviews go live in a few days, and hopefully AMD's marketing team got a great glutes and quads workout after teabagging Intel all week. And now let's move over to tech briefs, all the tech news with remarkably fewer words. As if Intel wasn't struggling enough already, they now have Nvidia to worry about too. No, not as an AI competitor where they're already being destroyed with bad news on Intel's Gaudi chips coming out on Friday, but in the gaming PC market, where Nvidia will begin selling new ARM-based CPUs for gaming systems starting September 2025, according to DigiTimes. There's apparently a consumer launch in 2025 and a commercial debut in March 2026, with much speculation as to the design and whether it will be a true high-end CPU that can compete with current desktop options, or something geared more for laptops and handhelds with a focus on gaming performance. It might be a CPU or SoC plus GPU combo, but hopefully we'll find out more at CES. 2025 is looking to be a very interesting year for PC gaming. Speaking of AI causing trouble, did you know that Supermicro is having a rough week? It's a weird 1-2 combo for the manufacturer who specializes in server boards. First, since AI is all about that hype, and you gotta have server boards for AI, Supermicro enjoyed quite the bull run earlier in 2024, peaking at just shy of $120 a share and getting added to the S&P 500 back in March. Unfortunately, the bubble has been deflating ever since though, and when Supermicro announced Wednesday that their auditor, Ernst & Young, was resigning due to questionable accounting manipulation practices, they were delisted from the Nasdaq and shares plummeted, now down more than 75% from peak. They're now being called the biggest loser of 2024, so I guess that's good news for Intel. As someone who builds their own computers, Apple has never really marketed to me, and that's okay. If there's one thing Apple does that ribs me though, it's their stupid high RAM upgrade prices for their computers, which are often 4 to 8 times the going market rate. So it is with the mildest enthusiasm that I'm happy to say, almost at the end of 2024, Apple has finally upgraded their Macs to a 16 GB base configuration. And see, look, immediate results. And I heard people don't line up in front of Apple stores anymore. I guess the train driver took the more RAM at the Apple store too literally. Finally, we close with some Halloween candy, which I rescued from our stash before my wife takes the rest of it to hand out at work. Just 1 a day and they should last till New Year's. Or 2 a day and it'll go till Thanksgiving. But I couldn't resist sharing this adorable costume from a trick-or-treater in Taiwan, where Jensen Huang is apparently revered as a godlike being of immense power. which is fitting, I guess, since he controls the entire Omniverse. This kid's got the leather jacket, the specs, some tasteful salt and pepper in the hair, and what appears to be an NVIDIA DGX H100 array, which I estimate to be worth around $250,000 or so given the 8 GPU configuration. If this dude stops at your house, make sure you're stocking the full-size Snickers. Or let him eat cake. Look, a GPU cake. This is from the PC Master Race subreddit, and it was so well done, I thought it deserved a mention. What an awesome cake designer, they even got the bracket right. And even though this cake GPU looks like it could easily pull 600 watts or more, the baker knew enough to not go for a 12 VH power connector. You wouldn't want that icing to melt. But there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you could also check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise, the t-shirts, the hoodies, the beer sets, the mouse mats, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.